Hello team and welcome back to the channel. So till now we have seen how we can set up the project, how we can test it locally, and how we can set up the repository. Now comes the time where we are going to set up the infrastructure, what tools we'll be needing in order to build the complete pipeline. Plus we are going to see how we can set up the CI pipeline, inside which we are going to write different stages including the different security tools as well. So all those things we are going to do from scratch. So again, don't miss it out. And secondly team, make sure that whatever I am showing you in hands-on today, make sure to implement it by today itself, right? Now with that being said, let's get started. So team, now let us understand about the CI pipeline, what stages will be there and what tech stack we are going to use, plus what will be the infra setup that we have to do. Okay, so first of all, let us talk about the infra, what things we have to make sure that they are set up, right? First, GitHub repo, right, which we have already set up, so that is done. Secondly, we have to set up Jenkins, which will be a tool to execute our CI/CD stages, right? Third, we are going to set up SonarQube. SonarQube is what? It's a SaaS security tool which is going to make sure that our source code is not having any kind of bugs or any kind of code related issues. Okay. Fourth, we have to set up 𝗕𝗲𝗃𝗦. It's another security tool that is going to make sure that there are no vulnerabilities within the dependencies that we use. For example, since we are using a Node.js based project, right? So inside our API folder, which is the backend, and inside our client folder, we have one file which is known as package.json. Similarly, inside this also we have this file package.json. What exactly this file contains? So if I show you directly inside the GitHub repository, then it will be much more clear for you. Where is the project? This is the project. Now, if I go inside the API folder, which is the backend, here we can see package.json, right? And here you can see what is mentioned here, the dependencies. Whatever dependencies are being utilized within the project, they are mentioned, right? And specific versions of them also mentioned, right? Similarly, inside the client folder, which is the front-end part of our application, this also has the information about the dependency and the library, whatever is being utilized, right? So the thing is कि if you are having dependencies, you should be aware about कि if the specific version of those dependencies are they having any kind of issue, like are they vulnerable? How we will get to know that information? We will get to know that information using 𝗕𝗲𝗃, right? That's why 𝗕𝗲𝗃 is one of the best security tool that you can have. So these are the things that we are going to set up, right? Plus, final thing we need to make sure we have Docker also set up, because we are going to be building Docker images. Now, this will be a separate topic, because I have to explain in very detail about the multi-stage Docker file. So this will be this whole series that you see, that will be a two-part video. Okay, in first part we are going to execute this. Second part we are going to understand this, how we are going to write multi-stage Docker file. Okay. Now, these are the things that we have to set up from infra point of view. Now let us understand about the stages that we are going to have inside our pipeline, and like how exactly it's going to be working. Now when we talk about CI/CD, one of the most important aspect is that we can automate it, right? We can automate it so that there is a very less human effort required for like running the pipelines, right? So how exactly whole process is going to be having? Let me explain you in detail. First thing, let us say that client says, I want to add some new features to the project. He says, okay, I want to change the background color of the project, right? For that, what he's going to do, he's going to raise a ticket. Either client is raising or someone else will raise with the information that we have to change the background color. What ticket we are raising? Jira ticket. It will be raised by whoever is responsible for making sure that these changes are applied. Once ticket is raised, it will be taken by a developer. Okay, because see, if you want to modify anything within the source code of the application, developers are the one who is going to write the code, correct? So this ticket will be taken by a developer, or you can say it will be assigned to a specific developer who is going to work on that specific feature. Means to write this developer is going to write the code for changing the background color, right? Now, developer directly, he cannot like write the code and push it to main branch or any specific branch directly. They have to first test everything locally. So how exactly that will be done? So let us assume as of now we are having two branches. One is main branch, one is dev branch. Now, this is like new development that needs to be done. So first we come to dev branch. From here we create a feature branch. Okay, name will be like this, feature back change or something. This branch will be created. Once this branch is created, developer is going to clone this branch locally in their personal laptop and they are going to write it. And once after they have written, they are going to test the code, means run the application locally to see if the code they have written, is it working fine or not. Once they have tested and they are sure okay, this code is working fine, then they are going to push the code here in the feature branch, whatever they have written, and then they are going to merge this feature branch back to dev. Okay, they are going to merge it back to dev. As soon as the code merged back to dev, it's going to automatically trigger the CI pipeline. That's what I'm talking about. That's where I'm talking about the automation, because every time if developer should be making sure that as soon as they are like merging the code, it should be triggered. The pipeline should be triggered. Who is responsible for automation? So for that, a DevOps engineer is responsible. For this, what we have to do, we have to set up a concept known as webhook, in which we can define key as soon as any changes are pushed to specific branch of a repository, it should trigger a specific pipeline. Okay, so that part we are going to configure. So this will be the process. This branching thing will be from developer side. Rest, webhook and writing the CI pipeline will be from our side. So this we understood. Key developer, whenever new task is coming, he's going to create a feature branch, clone it locally, test it, write the new code, test it, commit the changes and push the changes to feature branch, then merge the feature branch back to dev, which is going to trigger the pipeline. Right? Now let us understand what will be the stages in our CI pipeline, which needs to be written by DevOps engineer. So team, now let us understand about the stages that we are going to be having in our CI pipeline. So first, what we are going to do, let us say that we have created the CI pipeline, right? First thing that is going to happen is basically git checkout. What is git checkout? It basically means Jenkins is going to create a local copy of your source code inside Jenkins, because Jenkins also need to execute code and perform different kind of things on your source code. So first it's going to create a local copy. It's going to create a copy of the source code inside our repository on Jenkins. That will be done. Next, what we are going to do, we are going to perform the compilation. What is compilation of the code? Compilation basically means we execute a command to find out if there is any kind of syntax based error. Syntax based error means you might have missed some kind of comma, you might have missed some kind of bracket, you have written some code wrong, like the default keyword you might have written wrong. So those are syntax based errors. So if you have written wrong, then in compilation you'll be able to find out, okay, this is wrong, we have to correct it. Okay, once that is done, next thing what we have to do, we have to execute git leaks. What is git leaks and what it's going to do? So let us say that you have written a source code and by mistake in your source code you have added some kind of sensitive data. Sensitive data means you might have added, for example, like some password, some API key, some kind of token. So these are like sensitive data that should not be added in your repository. You can understand that, right? So if you have added those things, then git leaks will be able to find that information and it can tell you in which exact file and in which exact line that kind of sensitive data is added, which you have to remove for sure. So git leaks will be acting as a security tool, which is very effective. Okay, coming to next step, what we are going to do, we are going to perform an fs scan by 𝗵𝗏. We are going to perform a file system scan by 𝗵𝗏, which is going to check your dependency file. For example, In Java, dependency file is pom.xml, where we have information about dependencies. In Node.js, we have package.json. In .NET, we have 𝗕𝗺𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗀 file. In Python, we have requirements.txt. So if you execute in any of the project-based application, the 𝗕𝗃𝗃 file system scan, it's going to find this file, and from there it will get information about whichever dependency we are using, right? Once we had that information, then it's going to compare all the versions of dependency that we are using with a database. That database have information about which version of the dependency is vulnerable and not good to use, and that will be generated inside a report, so we can update our dependencies based on that report, and that will be making sure that our application is using secure dependencies and it is not vulnerable. Okay, good thing. Next, coming to next part, what we are going to perform, we are going to perform the unit test cases. We are going to execute the unit testing, so that whatever unit test cases have been written, that will be executed. Okay, again, we don't have to write unit test cases, but we can execute it directly in our pipeline. Comes the next part, where we have to perform SonarQube analysis. SonarQube analysis. What SonarQube analysis is going to do? So it will go through line by line complete code that we have in our repository, and it's going to find out if there is any kind of bugs available, it's there in any kind of like vulnerability inside the code, right? Bugs means if inside your code the logic is wrong, which is making the application behave in a wrong way, that section of code will be a bug. Vulnerability is what? Sections of code that are vulnerable to attacks. Like for example, you are writing authentication code, and you have written to give permission to viewer also, viewer role also, and admin role also. That is a vulnerability kind of thing. So these are like these are going to be the issues that are code related. The way the code is written, with respect to that, there are issues, so that will be figured out by SonarQube. And the best part is that it's going to tell us very interesting thing. First, it's going to tell us the severity. Severity means ki if this piece of issue, this piece of bug, is it critical, is it a minor issue, that is it's going to tell. Secondly, it's also going to tell us in which exact file and in which exact line the issue is there. Next, it's going to tell us how to solve it. So you can understand, if you are using SonarQube for analysis, you can make sure that your code is bug free, your code is not having any kind of code related issues, right, which could cause any problem in future. That is very useful, you can understand very easily, right? So team, once we have performed this SonarQube analysis, next step that we have to add, which is known as quality gate check. What exactly this is? Okay, so let us say that after SonarQube analysis, you are able to find 5 bugs, then let's say 1 vulnerability, and similar kind of issues, right? In addition to that, SonarQube analysis finds one more thing, which is known as code coverage. What exactly is code coverage? So basically, when you execute test cases, let's say you have 10 test cases, right? And total number of lines of code, or total code, we can say that it's 100 lines of code. Okay, total. If I execute 10 test cases, first of all, why we are executing test cases? To test different code, like test our code if it is correctly working or not, right? If we execute 10 test cases, it is able to test 100 lines. Then we say that code covered, the percentage of code covered by unit test cases is 100%, right? If executing 10 test cases, it was able to test or cover only, let's say, 80% of the code. Rest 20 lines or 20% of the code is not tested. Then we say code coverage is 80% or code covered is 80%, right? So that will be also informed to us by using SonarQube analysis code coverage, right? Now, let us say we were able to find code coverage as 75%. So this were the main things from our report. Now, each company will be having their own criteria or threshold. For example, they will have criteria as 0 bugs, 0 vulnerabilities, and minimum 80% of code coverage. That means ki your code is in compliance until if it your code is in compliance only if there are 0 bugs in your code, there is 0 vulnerabilities, and there is minimum 80% of code coverage. That means ki minimum 80% of the code should be tested. And you can understand ki if in our report we are finding this, then our code is not in compliance, right? That means we have to fix it. So this comparison, ki if it is equal to this or not, it is in compliance or not, quality gate check step we have to include. This will check if our code is in compliance or not, right? Once that is done, next step would be to build the Docker image. Build Docker image, and we have to tag it with specific version. Okay. And now Docker image we have to build just to make sure that our application becomes portable. That means ki now if we have, like when we build a Docker image, we get a package. That package is known as Docker image. So that package is basically combined or integrated with everything that is required to run the application. Okay. So once you have that package, you can run your application on any platform irrespective of the kind of platform. So that is possible only with Docker, right? That is, in simple words, we can say Docker makes our application portable and we can share it to anyone who can run it very easily, right? So once we have built our Docker image, next thing we have to do, scan the Docker image with 𝗕𝗲𝗃. 𝗕𝗲𝗃 is a very versatile tool and it can scan Docker images also for any kind of vulnerabilities that might exist within the image, right? Final thing that we can do from the for CI pipeline is push the image to a Docker Hub repository or any other kind of repository, so that this image that we are going to use in future to run our application in different environments like in Kubernetes, it can be easily fetched. Okay, because see, if you want to use it somewhere, you have to keep it somewhere. So we will be keeping it on a repository that is known as Docker Hub repository or Docker registry, so that if it is kept there, we can fetch it anytime and we can use it anywhere we want, right? So this will be the whole stages inside our CI pipeline. This is CI pipeline. Here, main purpose of the CI pipeline is to make sure that application is secure and it is ready for deployment. Okay, that is the purpose of CI pipeline. And again, this is going to be automated completely, right? CD pipeline, once we have made application ready, we can deploy it using CD pipeline. But in CI, we are making the application ready, making sure it's built correctly, making sure that all the security issues are resolved, all those things, right? So now what we can do, we can get started with the infra setup, whatever tools we'll be needing, and then we can write the CI pipeline from scratch, right? So let us do that. So guys, now we are going to get started with writing our CI pipeline. Okay. So for that, first of all, let us create the required infra. So I'll be creating 2 virtual machines, one for Jenkins and one for SonarQube. So I'll provide the number as 2. And here I'll be selecting Ubuntu machine. Version will be 24.04 LTS, which is kind of stable and have long-term support. Instance type, we can select T2 medium for both, which is more than enough. Key pair, we can select the one that we have. Security group. Here I will select this one, but before we proceed, let me show you the ports that I have opened. So if I go to security group, then going to prime DSG. Okay. So by default, these are the general ports that I keep open. Why I have taken this range 3000 to 9000, because most of the Node.js based projects will be in this range. Plus, we'll be using port 8080 for Jenkins and port 9000 for SonarQube. So this will be more than enough, right? Coming back here, storage, I'm going to give each one of them as 25 again, which is more than enough. And let us launch instance. So once these instances are created, let me name them for easier access. First one will be Jenkins, second one will be SonarQube. Okay, so SonarQube, and it seems fine. Let me just correct this spelling as well. So now we have these 2 machines created. Now let us connect to them. So for Jenkins, I can select the public IP address, and now we are going to use MobaXterm. So we can select that from our local. We have here, click on this, and let us connect to MobaXterm quickly. Click on session, SSH, provide public IP, Username will be Ubuntu. Here we can select the private key that we have stored on our local. Last thing we have to do is provide a name. So this will be Jenkins. If you want, you can select the color also, so that tabs are easier to see. Okay, so now we are connected to Jenkins, right? Now we have to install Jenkins here, right? So first command you should always run sudo apt update, which is going to update all the internal packages and make them available for usage. Also, team, you should know that when you talk about installing or setting up Jenkins, the first prerequisite is that there should be a JDK present on our system. So make sure that you are installing a JDK, and then you can run the commands to install Jenkins. Okay, so meanwhile this is happening, we can go on browser, and here we can search install Jenkins on Ubuntu. Click on the first link, and on left side you can see there are multiple options available. Based on wherever you want to install, you can select. So for us, we are going with Linux, since we are using Ubuntu based machine. So we'll click on first, and here we have the set of commands that we need to run, right? So before we run it, we need to make sure we have JDK installed. So if I run here as Java, we can see there is no JDK present, but we are going to install JDK 21. Okay, I'm not using JDK 17 because it's very soon it will be like not supported almost everyone. So I'm going with 21, which is at this point like being used almost everywhere, right? Now this thing you should understand, it is saying headless. Headless means this JDK is not having any kind of UI. So we will install JDK first, and meanwhile this is happening, we can copy the commands to install LTS version of Jenkins. Again, why we are using LTS? Because it is stable and it has long-term support. Never go with weekly release, because there are chances that there might be some bugs into it, right? So we are going to copy the LTS command. Once we have done that, we can execute it directly on this machine, and let's wait for this to complete. Side by side, we can set up 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗃 also. So I'll create a duplicate of this session, rename it, and I'm going to rename this to 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗃. I'll change the color also to cyan, and we have to change the IP address, which we can get from here. You can click here and open the 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗃 with the public IP of 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏 machine and provide that here. Okay, so here we can see Jenkins is installed. So let us quickly configure it. Right, so once you install Jenkins, you have to take the public IP of the server where Jenkins is running, and Jenkins will be accessible on port 8080. So we'll put IP, then 8080, right, and click enter. Now this is the first page that you come across. So here you have to provide the admin password, which is present on this location. So I will copy this path. We can use cat command to get the value of it, right? But here you can see we are getting permission denied, because this is a directory which requires elevated access or permissions to access any file. So we are going to use sudo cat and the location, and now you can see we have received the initial admin password. So we will copy that, paste it here, and click on continue. And you have to select first option, because Jenkins knows better which are the mandatory plugins for Jenkins to get started with. So click on this. Now this will be installing Jenkins, right, and all the required plugins. Jenkins we have installed, but this is going to require all these plugins. Now this is happening. It will take a little bit of time. Meanwhile, we can go to 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗃 machine. So we'll open that. Run the first command as sudo apt update. Okay, now remember that 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗃 we are going to set up Docker. Docker will be covering tomorrow, but still we are using just 2 commands of Docker to set up 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗃. Okay, so let's wait for this to complete. Also, in today's session, we are also going to be seeing how to automate this build process, how to automate the pipeline. Okay, so here first thing we are going to do is install Docker by running simple command. We can see Docker is not installed. but we can install docker.io version 26.1.3, which is not the latest, but it is fine for us. Okay, so we will install this. Now remember that when you install Docker, by default only root user has permission to execute Docker commands, but obviously we have requirement where will be using Ubuntu user, right? So we have to make sure that Ubuntu user has permission to execute Docker commands. For that, what you can do, you can add Ubuntu user to Docker group. When you install Docker, by default a group gets created named Docker. So whichever user is added to that group, that user will be having permission to execute Docker commands. So here we will run the command as sudo usermod -a capital G, group name which is Docker, then username which is Ubuntu. So this command basically says that I want to append another group to Ubuntu user. By default Ubuntu user will be part of Ubuntu group, but now we are going to add Ubuntu user to Docker group as well, so that Docker permissions can be given to Ubuntu user, right? Click enter. This is done. Now for these changes to be applied immediately, you should run command. You should either log out and log in, or you could run commands new group Docker, and it is done. Now we can run the command to set up SonarQube. So I will run Docker run -d, so that whatever logs are going to be coming, they should be like running in background. They should be visible in background. Okay. -d means running in detached mode, right? Then we will define a name to our container. Let's say I'll call it Sonar. Then we have to define the port mapping, which we can do. So in port mapping, two kind of ports we have. First, we have host port, the port on this virtual machine, which is going to be 9000. Second port is going to be the container port, the port on which SonarQube will be running inside the Docker container. So we will provide that as well. Then we have to provide Docker image name. So there are multiple versions of Docker image, free version plus enterprise version, and we have a developer version as well. So we are going to be using free version. So I'll be providing name as SonarQube :LTS-community. Click enter. And now it's going to set up SonarQube. Meanwhile, we can check the status on Jenkins. As you can see, it is set up, and we have to set up the first admin user. So let us provide admin username as this. We can set up a password, confirm the password, provide full name, which you can provide anything. Then you can put an email. I'm just putting a random email, 𝗭𝗏𝗏.com, and click on save and continue. So Jenkins is ready to be utilized. Meanwhile, we can check the status on SonarQube. So here that is also completed. Just to verify it is running or not, we can run Docker ps, and here we can see one container is running. So to access SonarQube, we can get the public IP of SonarQube, which is this one. And as I said, we have mapped it to 9000 on the host machine. So it will be accessible on that port only. Run this, and you can see SonarQube is starting. So let's wait for this as well. Taking a little bit of time, so I'll just refresh the page. Okay. SonarQube was up, so click on home. Username and password. So by default, the username that is going to be the default username for SonarQube will be admin. Click on login. Right. Now here we have to provide old password first, which was admin. New password, you can set whatever you want. So SonarQube is also set up, and we have, this is the first page you will see, right? Coming back to Jenkins. So now we are going to get started with writing the pipeline, and whatever plugins will be needed in between, we are going to install them one by one. Okay. So team, for Jenkins, first of all, let us go to manage plugins and install at least 1 or 2 new plugins. So for that, we can click on plugins, available plugins, and here let's search for stage view. This is the plugin that we are going to install first. Okay. And it is getting installed, right? So this is done. So then once we have set up our Jenkins, now we can get started by writing our pipeline, right? So we can click on new, And here we have to create our Jenkins job, and Jenkins job name will be CI. The type of Jenkins job will be pipeline, right? So click on OK. Now, as part of best practice, we are going to keep only 3 builds in history, because if you are keeping so many builds, then it will be occupying so many space, because every time we run a pipeline, a build will be getting created. So if we run multiple pipelines, it's going to create a lot of builds, and we don't want them to occupy so much space. So we are going to keep only last 3 builds. So you can write maximum number of builds to keep. Scroll down, and this is the section where we are going to write the CI/CD pipeline, right? So if you're new to Groovy and you do not have much knowledge on that, what you can do, you can create a skeleton of pipeline which you can modify. So here we can go with hello world. Now you can see this is a skeleton, right? Inside which first we have pipeline block, inside which complete thing will be written. Then we have agent any, that means where exactly this pipeline will be running. Any means any agent, whichever agent is available, on that we can run the pipeline. Then we have stages block, inside which all the stages will be written, and as of now only one stage is there, right? First thing what we are going to do, we are going to copy this stage. Make sure you are copying the exact number of brackets from here to here, 2 brackets, copy that, and create multiple stages first. Okay. Now each stage we can modify. Also remember that no 2 stage can have same name, so make sure to remember that, right? First stage we are going to write as git checkout, which is going to create a local copy of GitHub repository of a specific branch, so that Jenkins can work with it. Because see, actual code is kept here, right? But if Jenkins have to work with this code, they have to create a local copy of it, right? So this is our code where API is the backend folder, client is the front end folder, right? So copy the URL. Now coming back here, so like stage we have written. Inside steps, how do we write it so that Jenkins can clone the copy, create the clone? So if you are new and you do not have knowledge how to write it, best way, scroll down to pipeline syntax, and here you can create templates basically. For example, if I expand this sample step, you can see this git. Open that git, provide the repo URL, provide the branch name, and generate the script. And you can see this is the script that we can write in our stage 1. And stage 1 is completed, right? Second stage would be to compile the front end, right? So I'm going to provide this stage name as front end compilation, right? Now, so what we have to do, we'll be using a Node.js based command. Now, if you want to use Node.js inside your pipeline, you have 2 options. One option is that you can install directly on the Jenkins server, or you can install Node.js using a plugin. When we talk about installing directly on Jenkins server, then basically we have to execute Node.js based command to install it, right? Via plugins, we have to first install the Node.js plugin, and then we have to configure it. Which version of which mode I will suggest is to go with this one. One difference that you should know, when you install any tool or package directly on the Jenkins server, on Jenkins, then you don't have to define it anywhere in your pipeline. For example, let's say that on this machine, this is like this is my Jenkins server, right? Here, if I install Java and if I want to use it in my pipeline, I can directly call in anywhere in my pipeline as like this Java -v, right? -v version. I can call anywhere, it will work. But if I have installed that tool or package via plugins, then if I want to use it in my pipeline, I have to define it or mention it in my pipeline. Okay, let me show you both the examples. So first what we can do, let me save it. Then we can go to dashboard, manage Jenkins, plugins, and here you should be in available plugins, search for Node.js. Now I have installed it already, so in my case it should be available in installed plugins, but make sure that you are installing it, right? You should be searching in available plugins. So for me, you can see it is available and I have installed it. Next thing what we have to do, we have to go to manage Jenkins, tools, and tools is the section where you configure whatever plugin you install. So if I scroll down, you can see Node.js installation, right? So we have to select a version. So I'll click on add Node.js, let's provide name as Node.js, and version, let's go with something 23. So I'll provide the name as 23. Now I have configured it here, but it is not yet installed on my machine, correct? Now, so as I said, we have installed Node.js via plugin. That means if I'm installing any tool via plugin, I have to define it in our pipeline. So what we can do, we can go here, we can create a block known as tools block. And inside this tool block, we have to define our Node.js tool. How do we define? So format basically says, the format is like this: tools, here tool type, and then in single quotes tool name. Now how do we get this information? So you can get it by again going to pipeline syntax, here search for tool, where is it, this one, select Node.js, and here I can see Node.js, generate the script. So here you can see the name Node.js 23, and this one, this is the type is Node.js, and Node.js 23 is the name, right? So first we will write here as type. What is the type? Type is Node.js. What is the tool name that we configured? Node.js 23. So basically this is how we define. Now tools block does not support all kind of tools. Like Maven you can define here, JDK you can define here, Node.js you can define here, but not all of them, right? So now we have defined it. Now we have to execute command here, right? So two things we have to understand. We have two folders, client folder and backend API folder, and we want to execute the compilation process in each of the folders. So first of all, we need to tell Jenkins that you need to go inside the client folder, execute the compilation command. Then again you have to go inside API folder and then execute the compilation command. Because if you are executing on root directly the compilation command, it may not work. So how we can achieve that? So first we have front-end compilation, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to pipeline syntax. Here search for directory, dir, you can see, change current directory. So first I want to execute my command inside client directory. Now you can see it generated a script. Now if I add this script here, it basically tells now whatever command I write inside the dir block, it will be executed inside the folder client, right, which is the requirement. And now we have to write the command for performing compilation. Okay, now there is an internal basically Node.js native command available, this command, which can perform compilation on all the Node.js, all the JavaScript based files. This command you can execute directly. So I will copy this command. It's going to find all the files with .js extension. It's going to perform a compilation check on that, and then it's going to perform the complete compilation on each file in batch. Okay, not one by one, in batch it's going to execute. So we will copy that. We will run sh single quotes and add the command. So for front end compilation will be done here. Second stage that we are going to be using. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a copy of this, and let us modify here. Instead of front end, we can write backend. Here instead of client, this time we want to execute command inside API folder, but the command will be same. So both will be compiled now, right? Once compilation is done, what we should be doing, we should be performing git leaks. Okay, what is git leaks? So basically, as I told you previously in my here, that git leaks is going to find if there is any kind of sensitive data added in our source code, right? So if I want to use git leaks, I need to install git leaks first. So we can go to Jenkins server, we can run git leaks, and here we can see it is not present, but we get the command to install it. So I can execute this. Once it is executed, then once it is installed, then we will be able to use it inside our pipeline here. Talking about how okay, first let me write the stage name properly. It will be git leaks scan. So here now we have to write the git leaks step. So let us do that. So team, here we can write sh get leaks detect. Then we have to define source, like what exactly we want to perform scanning on. So I'll put a dot, means scan it in the current directory, so it can go like in complete directories. Or you can also go like this, /client. Okay, and it will perform it. Then you can add one more thing, exit code equal to 1. Basically means that we want to perform scanning on inside the client folder. If any sensitive data it is able to find, it should abort the pipeline. I'm going to add another stage which will be like this, get leaks detect --source /API -exit code 1. Okay, so these many things we have written. Let us run this so that we can confirm that whatever we have written as of now, it's working. So I can execute it, and let's see how much time does it take. Since we are running for the first time, so Node.js is getting installed now, and it will take a little bit of time. So yeah, let's wait for this. So team, as we can see, whatever stages we wrote now, it's success now. Right, so now let us go and add the 𝗕𝗃 state plus 𝗏𝗏𝗃 state. So we can go to configure. Okay, now when you want to work with 𝗏𝗏𝗃, there are few setups that you have to do. So let me explain you that as well. 𝗏𝗏𝗃, the way that it's going to work, let's say we want to use 𝗏𝗏𝗃. So for 𝗏𝗏𝗃, we have to set up two specific things. First, we need to make sure that we have 𝗏𝗏𝗃 scanner available. Secondly, we need to make sure that we have set up 𝗏𝗏𝗃 server. So scanner will be running inside Jenkins, performing the analysis, generating the report, and publishing the report over the server. So as of now, what we have done, if you can look closely, we have set up this 𝗏𝗏𝗃 server. So server is up and running. Next thing we have to set up is the 𝗏𝗏𝗃 scanner. So for that, we will go to dashboard, manage Jenkins. In plugin section, go to available plugins and search for 𝗏𝗏𝗃 scanner. Click on that and just install it. So this will be able to install 𝗏𝗏𝗃 scanner. Server we have already installed. Now we are setting up 𝗏𝗏𝗃 scanner. So once scanner is installed, next thing what we have to do, inside our Jenkins, like how Jenkins knows where exactly I have to publish the report. We know that report needs to be published on 𝗏𝗏𝗃 server, but we need to mention to Jenkins also that this is the exact address where we have to publish. So how we can mention it? So first, inside Jenkins, we have to add the URL of server and the credentials to access it. Right? So these two things we are going to configure inside inside Jenkins, in addition to the 𝗏𝗏𝗃 scanner. So plugin of the scanner has been installed, and as I told you, when you install a plugin, most probably you'll be able to configure that plugin inside tool section. So if I go here, scroll down to 𝗏𝗏𝗃 scanner, you can see this option is visible now. So click on add 𝗏𝗏𝗃, and here we can provide a name like sonar-scanner. You can select specific version that you want. I'll just go with the whatever is the latest and click on install. Next thing what we have to do, go to system, and here scroll down till you find this section. And this section is also visible because we have installed 𝗏𝗏𝗃 scanner tool. So now we have to go to 𝗏𝗏𝗃 administration, security, users. Now as of now, only one user is present, and this is where you can generate the tokens which will be used for authentication or used as credentials. So click on that, provide any name to the token and generate. Copy this token because this is what we have to configure. So now we will go back to Jenkins, scroll down to credentials, global, add credentials. Kind will be secret text because we are using a token. So copy the token here, provide a name like sonar-token. Same thing we can add here. Click on create. Once token has been added, you can go back to manage Jenkins, system, scroll down to 𝗏𝗏𝗃 servers, click on add 𝗏𝗏𝗃, provide a name like sonar. This is the name of server. URL we can copy till 9000 and add it here. Make sure to remove the last slash. Authentication token we can select, right? Once you do this, now that means we have configured scanner also and server also inside Jenkins. So now let us write it inside the pipeline. So we can go to dashboard, open the CI pipeline, click on configure, and let us add the stage. So first of all, I'm creating multiple copies of this hello world stage, so we can edit it. Okay, so let us provide the name. Name will be Sonar Cube Analysis. Let us write it properly. Okay, now we have to write it here, right? So here, for writing it here, what we can do, we can use pipeline syntax. Click on that, expand it, and search with SonarQube. Let us see. Where is it? Okay, so as you can see, as of now, we are not able to see any option that says with SonarQube. Okay, so what we can do, we can simply restart Jenkins. Before that, let me save the pipeline so that it does not get lost. So here I can do right after slash restart, and let us restart it. After restart, that option should be visible. So let's wait for this to complete. Okay. So let us log in. Once we are logged in, we can go back to the pipeline, configure pipeline, and let's open pipeline syntax. Here, let us search for with SonarQube environment. You can see this option. This is visible now, right? So we will generate it, the script. Now we have to write everything inside this script. Now, let me explain you what exactly we have to do now. Here we will add the block and we will write our code here. So why we are adding this block? Because see, if Jenkins need to send the report to SonarQube server, so Jenkins need to have this. So this we need to mention in our stage. How we can mention it? Remove this section. Here just write this sonar. Now this sonar is referring to what? It basically refers to, if I show you manage Jenkins system. If you remember, we have already configured SonarQube server here with URL and credential with the name sonar. So this is what I'm calling here or mentioning here, so that Jenkins knows, okay, this is the server where we have to send the report. Next thing what we have to do, we have to write the basically write the step to call the SonarQube scanner. How we can do that? And I have told you that whenever you install or install a tool or package via plugins and you want to use it in your pipeline, you have to define it in your pipeline. So how we can define scanner, SonarQube scanner? For that you have to create environment. Inside this environment, we are going to basically define the home directory of that tool, which will be done using a variable. Tool. Here, name of the tool that we configured was Sonar Scanner. Which name this is referring to? Again, this is referring to the scanner name. The scanner name. If you see here, Sonar Scanner, that's what I have mentioned here, right? Once you do this, then you can write the sh commands, like shell commands we have to write, and I'm going to be using 3 columns. So basically means that we have multiple lines of code. Here, first of all, I'm going to call the variable that we defined inside the environment here. Variable name is scanner home. Scanner underscore home slash. Now here basically, if you want, see, when you install any tool or package inside Jenkins, how do you execute it? So let's say I installed a package like this 𝗭𝗏𝗏𝗏. So most of the packages will be, when you install them, they will be existing like this. There will be home directory /bin slash the executable file. This file will be executable. So if I execute this file, this tool will start, right? Same thing we have to do in Sonar Scanner. We will call the home directory, bin, and then the Sonar Scanner execution we can do. Same thing we can see if you write like this, it will be getting executed. Same thing we are here we are going to do here, bin slash sonar dash scanner, right? So this command, this command is executing the Sonar Scanner tool. Next thing what we have to do, we have to provide information about the project name and project directory, project name and project key. So for that you have to use a parameter d sonar dot project name and capital equal to, let's call it as Node.js project. Then second line where we can use another parameter d sonar dot project key, K capital. Same thing we can write here as well, Node.js dash project, and we can close this. So this basically what is saying here, we want to execute SonarQube analysis with below details that we have added. Okay. So next thing what we are going to perform is quality gate check. We need to make sure that our code is in compliance, right? So next stage will be quality gate check. How to write it? So first of all, the thing is sometimes this goes for very long, and we want that if Jenkins is running this stage, it should be running it maximum for 1 hour. And within 1 hour also it is not getting executed, then we will just abort it or leave this stage. Okay. So for that we have to set up a timeout. So we'll click on pipeline. Here we will search for timeout, something like that. Where is timeout? Time will be 1 hour. Okay, so we will copy this. Okay, now inside this block we are going to write the wait for quality gate. That we can write again from pipeline syntax. Here you can find for wait for quality gate. You can see this option. Generate this and just add it here. Now let us understand this. So timeout we have added so that this stage can run max up to 1 hour only. Secondly, we have wait for quality gate. So it's going to start the quality gate check, and if quality gate check it is failed or successful, then we can set up a condition abort pipeline. If it is failed, sometimes we want that if quality gate failed, we want to abort the pipeline. So here you can write true, and if you are writing false, then no matter what, quality gate check will be successful. This stage will be successful. This we had added. Next time is what we want to perform. We want to add the 𝗕𝗏 fs scan, which is scanning the file system dependencies. So whatever project inside the project, whatever dependencies we have, we want to scan them as well. For that, what we can do, we can go on browser, search for 𝗕𝗏 installation, and then based on what machine you are using, you can select it. So I'm using Ubuntu, I'll copy it. Now why you are using these commands? Because there is no direct plugin available for 𝗕𝗏 inside Jenkins. That means we have to install 𝗕𝗏 directly on the Jenkins server. I can paste the commands, and now Jenkins will be 𝗕𝗏 will be installed. And as you remember, I told you whenever you install a tool directly on Jenkins, then you don't have to define in your pipeline, and you can directly use it like this. 𝗕𝗏 fs means file system we want to scan, then -- format, in which format we want the report. So I'll be writing table. We want the report in tabular format. Then -o, we want to generate the report and export it into a separate file. File name will be fs-report. Then we have to provide a report .html, this format we want. Then we have to provide the directory which we want to scan. So I'll just write dot means scan the current directory. Okay, where it's going to focus on looking for a dependency file which is like package.json, and then it will be able to find the dependencies that we are using, are they vulnerable or not. Now in our case, what is happening, we have these two folders, right? So let us see if it is able to find that the package.json and generate the report. If not, then we are going to run this step for separately for both the folders. Okay, so let us run this directly because I think 𝗕𝗏 is already installed. So let us run. It has started and it's going to take a little bit of time because we are running for the first time the Sonar scanner, so it's going to install it on Jenkins. So yeah, let's wait for this to complete. So then before we trigger the pipeline, and we want that our if I open it again, configure, here we have written the stage for quality gate check. So if you want that this should work properly, you should be going to SonarQube, go to administration, configuration, and we have to configure a webhook so that this compliance check can be done from Jenkins side as well. So what you have to do, you have to click on create, provide any name like SonarQube webhook. Then here we have to add in this format a URL, where this URL will be of Jenkins URL. So let us copy that, add it, make sure extra slash is removed. Now the question is why exactly we are adding a webhook. Okay, so let me explain you why do we need to add a webhook. Because see, as of now what we are doing with respect to SonarQube analysis, from Jenkins we are sending a report to SonarQube, right? But when we talk about the quality gate check, what exactly happens? See, the thing is inside SonarQube we might have set up a compliance rules, for example 80% code coverage, certain amount of bugs. So certain conditions we might have set up inside SonarQube. How will Jenkins able to compare the actual report that we have with this, with the one in SonarQube, right? That means ki see, as of now Jenkins is pushing something to SonarQube, but for quality gate check Jenkins go to SonarQube and get this information, means get something. For that purpose we are setting up SonarQube webhook. Okay, so let us do that. Here we have added, make sure this is the URL, we don't have to add any secret, and click on create. Once we have done that, you can run the pipeline and that should be able to fix an issue. So let's wait for this to complete. It has started and it will be completed within few minutes. So yeah, let's wait for this. Again team, or one more thing, make sure that you are you are learning this whole thing and implementing it by today itself. Okay, so analysis done, quality gate check is getting, okay, that is also done. Okay, for now we can go to SonarQube and we can see the results. So here it is able to find certain issues within the source code that can be fixed in help of developer. Okay, so that is working fine. Final thing, 𝗕𝗏 also has generated a report. That means the complete CI pipeline is working fine. As of now we have not added in Docker stage, so that will be added once you have implemented this. So that will be added in next part. Okay, for now team, make sure to implement this whole thing, and I hope the stages are clear. Plus make sure that you are using this. I'll be adding this Jenkins file inside the repository in dev one second, let me just create this dev branch Jenkins file _ci. So you can refer this. Okay, rest everything is already have seen, so make sure to check it out. And yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Have a nice day.